Hello, ladies and gentlemen in the Ninja Nation. My name is Peter Parnay. I'm a Ninja instructor, and I'll be yours today as we talk about the buyer's process here at the Ninja Nation, where we talk about all things Ninja all the time. Last week, we talked about how to use the process as an invitation to create an appointment to actually show the process. And go back to last week and click on the video. Actually, I'll put it right here below, so if you missed it, you can watch it here. Let's now assume we've been successful. They've agreed to come meet us to go through the buyer's process, and we're sitting at the table with them. First suggestion, make sure you bring the questions with you. It's too hard to remember them all, and it's too stressful. If you're uncomfortable actually bringing the form out, as we talked about with the seller, just tell them, Mr. Buyer, there are too many questions and too many answers that I want to make sure I get right. So if it's all right with you, I'll be writing them down and taking notes. So far, I've never had a buyer go, no, I don't want you to take notes. They're actually comforted by it. You need to bring three things. You need to bring a pad of paper, and you need to bring the questions, number two, and you need to bring 2 or 3 pens. If there's 2 buyers, you need to bring a pen for each and one for yourself. Sit down, here we are, and now I'm going to show you actually how to draw the funnel. During the questioning, of course, we've already asked the questions about how long did it take you to find your last house, how'd that work for you, the critically important question, if you could wave a magic wand and have this transaction go just the way you want it, what would that look like? You've asked all that, and now we're right at the funnel process. So I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to pop in and out of roll when I make some comments, but this is how it would sound in front of a buyer. Mr. Buyer, thank you so much. I appreciate everything we talked about so far. Now, my goal is to make sure we find you the right house in the shortest amount of time, make sure you don't overpay, and most importantly, make sure you don't miss anything. And we have a process called the funnel process. Would you like to see how it works? And at this point, they're like, sure. So I'm going to draw my funnel in front of them. This is really important that you draw it in front of them. And here's a key piece. Make sure you draw the funnel in the middle of the paper so you have plenty of room up here to put things into the funnel. A common mistake is we draw it too high and then everything's scrunched up here, because you really want to see the landscape of what you're putting in right here. So here's how it's going to start. I'm going to ask them the question, have you seen anything yet, or did you bring any listings with you that you'd like to make sure we take a look at? If they say no, no worries. But if they say yes, I say, okay, I'm going to start by putting everything you've brought with you, and I'm going to put it in here. And all I'm going to ask is, hey, have you been inside any of these? And if they say yes, you just ask, hey, did you like any of them? Most of them will say no, or no, I haven't been inside. That's all you need to say. We're going to go on. So the next thing I'm going to do, Mr. Buyer, is we're going to start by putting everything that's in our multiple listing service into the funnel. All the houses, big, small, expensive, because the point is we don't want to miss anything. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you looking online on some websites? And they'll probably say, yeah, we're looking at Zillow. You go, great, Trulia, maybe Redfin, whatever, you know. They might tell them your site, whatever it is, which would be great. Anyway, the point is, whatever websites they're looking at, you just put it there. And then here's what the dialogue is going to sound like. Say, I want to alert you to something, Mr. Buyer. You're going to be looking at this on those sites while we're looking for houses. And it's actually fairly likely that you'll find a house in there that you'll call me up and it'll turn out it sold and closed a month ago. It'll already be off the market. The key is that almost every other website takes their feed from MLS. And especially the third-party websites like these, they're very good at getting new listings on, but they don't have a very good mechanism for keeping the database current. In other words, when a house sells, it often stays on the website for sometimes months. So you've been calling me up, and over you'll go, this looks great, and I'll go, it sold a month ago or 2 months ago. Don't worry. MLS is the gold standard for timeliness and accuracy. Like I said, 95% of the houses on these sites are there, and they'll be in the funnel, but don't get discouraged, don't get concerned if a lot of them are out of date, because that's the reason. It's just the way it works. Now I've explained that, which is appropriate, so then A, it gives them permission to call me on those things, and B, it'll explain it. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask them, and this is really important, ask, don't tell. Would you consider a new construction? And if they say yes, you put it into the funnel. And this is the point where you explain the rules of the road in your area. And by that I mean, under what circumstances will a builder allow you to represent your buyer and or compensate you? And this is when you explain it. Say, Mr. Buyer, most of the new home sites in town are happy to have me represent you. It won't cost you anything to do that, by the way. But when you walk in the door, they're going to ask you, or they might not even ask you if you're working with a realtor, I'm going to give you some cards and just say you're working with me, and that way I'll be able to represent you. Then I'm, of course, going to ask the seemingly awkward question, would you consider a for sale by owner? And the reason I ask that question is really important. Some realtors get nervous. Why would you suggest that? What we're trying to make sure is that the buyer knows that he will not miss anything by working with us. Anything we don't include here, he or she perceives that in order to see everything, they have to go look by themselves. And that's the one thing we want to avoid here. So now I'm going to explain. So if you're driving around and you see a house that's for sale by owner that you're interested in, just write down the number. Almost every seller is actually happy to have a buyer that's represented by a real estate agent because it makes their job easier. And it won't cost you anything. They'll likely compensate us, as does every other seller. If in fact I talk to a seller, if you give me their number and they won't allow me to represent you, then we'll talk about that at that point, how you could have me represent you, or you can do it by yourself, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Just copy down the number and let me call, and we'll like I said, it's almost certain that I can help you with that. Would you consider an REO or a foreclosure? Now, as we know, that inventory is lower now, but don't forget to ask because, you know, that might be lurking in their mind, foreclosure. And they'll talk about it, whatever it is, great, yes or no. And then now you go back to telling rather than asking. Once we get your criteria clear, your price range, square footage, etc., I'm going to create something known as an auto responder or an auto notification, whatever you call it in your board, a portal, listing cart, anything, that as soon as a new listing comes on the market, and when I say as soon as, like instantaneously, it will send you and me an email notification letting us know that there's a new listing that fits your criteria. And that way we'll make sure we don't miss anything that's new. So did we miss anything that you're thinking about? And they go, no, say terrific. Now let me explain what's going to happen next. So next week I'm going to do that, and we'll pick up right where we are.